Hi, this is Todd, coming to you from the Sanborn shop in Winona, Minnesota, and it is currently the middle of January, which means all of the water here is hard. And so there's not a lot of paddling to do, but that doesn't mean you can't get ready for the next season. And so I want to share with you a few tips for how to maintain your gear and get you ready for the next season. So I'm going to teach you first waxing the paddle. This isn't something that we do standard on our paddles, but it is a way to make your paddle feel just that much better in your hands as you're using it. So if you own a Sanborn paddle, you've probably noticed that the grips are bare. People ask us about that all the time. The reason that we do that is because it feels better in your hand when you're paddling for a long day. Tacky varnish tends to cause blisters in a way that smooth wood isn't going to do. That's another benefit of waxing the shaft too, is it leads to just a smoother feel in your hand and a better performing paddle. So I'm going to show you first waxing. What we're going to do first is a little bit of wet sanding. So you want to get some wet or dry sandpaper like this. Any old sandpaper would do the trick, but this wet dry paper allows us to get a really nice smooth finish. And then you're just going to sand it. You want to be nice and thorough. We've got 400 grit paper, so we're not trying to take off a lot of material. Our goal is just to essentially rough it up a little bit, sand smooth any of the dings that you put into it last season. My technique is essentially just to be really thorough and slowly rotate the paddle as I just sand it in a very smooth, methodical kind of way. So just nice slow rotations, and I do the whole thing. Blade included, because well, it's not necessary in terms of the hand feel, but it makes your paddle have a nice, more even finish, and also it's fun to watch the water bead up on the wax. So then I wipe that all dry, get rid of all the water. Alright, so once you've gotten all the water off, you basically repeat the same process with steel wool. So it's a really fine steel wool. Pick up at your local hardware store. And then we've got some basically just polishing wax. So paste wax. Nothing terribly complicated, but the finish is really nice. Alright, so the same way that I sanded, I start up here, just slowly working my way around. First near the grip, and then next get the whole thing. Your goal is to get it coated. You don't need to be really generous with the wax, just a thin coat is fine. But at this point now, we've applied wax the whole thing, and when you feel it, it does feel waxy. So then what I do, the one side of the steel wool is what I apply the wax with. I flip it over to the other side, the clean side, and essentially take away the wax. So as Mr. Miyagi said, it's wax on, wax off. You end up with a nice smooth feel. You do that same thing for the whole paddle. And flip it over to the clean side, wipe away all the excess. When you sand it, you end up with kind of a milky sort of color in the varnish, and the wax will essentially remove that milkiness and kind of fill it in and bring back a little bit of luster. Alright, that's all there is to it, to wax your paddle. And now this paddle, it feels very nice, very nice. Yeah, one of the drawbacks of modern varnishes, like I had mentioned, is that it can cause blisters over a long day of paddling, which is why traditionally a paddle would have been oiled for its finish. but the varnish will protect the wood in a way that oil just doesn't. So the wax essentially allows us to have the benefits of both. You get the protection that varnish allows while also getting the feel of oil.